What's happening, fam? L.A.R movement still moving. The book is entitled Lessons from a Non-Custodial Father. It's at Amazon Kindle Create Space. The link will be in the description box below. Dealing with karma. Um, I think one of the hardest things that I've noticed for some people to deal with is karma, because you reap what you sow. That's whether it's a positive or negative. I think I'm gonna focus more so on a negative. I think because it's easier to express, in my opinion, at this particular point. Because when you deal with karma, usually people forget. When you're doing looking for positive results, you know all of the good things you did to reap what you sow. You know, I mean to sow when you're getting what you put out. God dog it. When you're getting back what you put in. I did this, I did that, I did this. I was diligent. I was focused. I was determined. I was consistent. I did all of these things, and I checked off all the boxes. I dotted every I and I crossed every T. So this is the results I should be getting, or I do get, right? And but when it's the other way around, is when some of us like to play victim, because some of us don't recall how we've offended other people, or how we've crossed other people, or how we've created a situation that inevitably creates our karma, because we didn't see it coming, because karma doesn't come necessarily when you think it's supposed to, where it's supposed to, how it's supposed to, you know, because you don't get to control how what you put out into the world comes back at you. So sometimes you don't have a sense of humor about your karma, because you can't recognize it's your karma, because you didn't necessarily you don't process it like, oh yeah, I did do that, and I said, maybe that's life's way of paying it back for that. You don't. It has to be, you know, it has to be in the same ballpark, when karma doesn't necessarily work like that. You might have been able to get away with this over here, but you got it back in this way over here. And people are not necessarily cognizant to that ideology, that, you don't control karma or how you should receive it. So, it's hard to deal with, because you see people, like I said, they want to play the victim. Some people get angry and lash out. So you're lashing out because you're on the receiving end of life's karma, without really sitting down and thinking about what was it that you did previously that created the situation you're in. And sometimes, like, bad things happen to good people, but in some ways, you know, we don't ever talk about the idea that sometimes karma happens proactively. You sometimes your trials and tribulations happen before your success. You know, how can you deal with adversity that you didn't create, that you are gifted to a degree? And it's hard to deal with that, because sometimes the very thing that disturbs our lives, our comfort zones, our situations and maybe even our dreams and aspirations is the very thing we have to conquer to actually attain those dreams and aspirations to make them come true. So sometimes we have to deal with it like that. Like, oh, I mean, you actually won. Your success wasn't um when maybe the material things came. Your success was when you actually conquered the test that life gave you prior to the materials coming. The materials came after you passed the test, you know. And just like sometimes people don't understand that even success can be karma. Like success when you may be too early or because you weren't ready for it. You got success, you got the spoils of success, but you don't have the and that's all you wanted. So you got exactly what you asked for was the spoils of success, but those spoils in that time window is short lived, and now you're dealing with the idea that you want to get that fire back, but in the process now you actually have to work to retain or reestablish what you have been given uh, at first without having to work for it. And now you got to deal with the adversity of maybe you didn't give your best and you became successful, and now that you're giving your best, you're marginalized or ignored, and it's a tough pill to swallow because you can feel you're a better person than than you were when you were more successful, but it doesn't play out that way in the general public and in the way that you perceive yourself, or you perceive how how you should be taken. So, like I said, like it's hard to deal with karma for most people because you don't necessarily. Um, it's an individual, subjective type of life test. There isn't a one size fits all answer for the way you deal with karma. You know, what might work for one person might completely destroy you if you try to emulate the very same model that they implemented that works for them. You know, for some people, anger actually got them out. For other people, anger actually worsened the situation. For some people, um, being nonchalant actually worked for them. For other people, being nonchalant actually worsened the situation. So when you're dealing with karma, you got to understand it's a process in which you may not get it right the first time, but you have to be open-minded to the idea that maybe, just maybe, um, what you feel is for your worst, what you feel makes your situation worse, maybe in the short term, maybe for your long-term benefit when you actually get through it. When I was a kid, I used to laugh at my teachers in grade school and high school. To a degree, even my college professors. And, as a kid, it stayed the same. And because the school year will get real aggravating and intense always near the end. You know, Christmas break, attitudes are real high. Spring break, attitudes are at an all-time high. And summer break, attitudes are at a high. And I would laugh like, it's funny that, y'all not this angry on the first day of school because it's exciting to you, but with that week before Christmas break, oh, you just ready to pack it in. You like everybody need to shut the hell up. I just want to get out of here. And that's how sometimes we look at karma like, when we know it's coming, our attitude sucks. Because we know we have to deal with some things that we don't necessarily want to deal with. So how do you go about dealing with it? Ironically, it's trial and error, and you got to go with the flow. You know, I think the way to pass that test is normally to do the right thing, even when it bothers you. It may be your gut feeling to do the right thing, but it also bothers you that you feel like it's uncomfortable what you're doing it because you may feel like you don't have to do it or you shouldn't have to. That ultimately is the best way to deal with it, because whatever you put out in the world made somebody else uncomfortable. So you also have to deal with yourself being uncomfortable, fixing the issues that receiving karma puts in your life. So once you're able to conquer whatever emotion it is to have you in that uncomfort zone, I think it works out best. Just in my opinion. I'm out. Peace.